and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact, and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers that convert consistently. We'll see you all on the inside. So welcome back. If you are an introvert and you are completely terrified of the fact that your business will be built on strangers, this episode is for you. A lot of people are surprised to hear that I, in fact, am an introvert because I've learned the skills of being an extrovert. But sales and conversations and growing your business can be done in a style that flexes to you. So introverts, my peeps, this one is for you. I'm super excited today to introduce to you my guest. This is going to be Kelly Helmick. I'm super excited to introduce you to her. We're going to be talking about how we can grow a business when our natural aptitude isn't to be the brightest light in the room. Kelly, welcome to our show today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
So let's talk about, how do you define an introvert, and where do we start with the whole concept of we have to find strangers to go play with in order to see business success?
Yeah, so there are so many ways we can define introverts, right? So a lot of people, for some people, it is where you don't want to talk to anyone ever, or you want to have as little communication with people as possible. And then there are other people who I think, like you and also me, where we can be bubbly and enthusiastic, and then we need to step back and recharge, essentially. So for those types of introverts, there are going to be different marketing strategies that really work for you. Because if you are the kind of person who doesn't really like to communicate with people on a regular basis, you're obviously not going to want to be this kind of person who goes out and networks with people on a regular basis, because it's going to be seriously draining for you so incredibly quickly.
I love that you talk about the different styles of introvert, because it's right. You're right. When I think about anybody who knows me, and people always find this shocking, I said, at the end of the day, I have talked myself out in
Yeah.
my business. And for some people, when we say, you need to get visible, they're like, I can just feel my heart palpitate. I can feel those are not butterflies. Those are elephants in my stomach. And I'm just a hell no when I say go walk into a room full of strangers. And I love that you talk about different styles and gifting people the freedom, which I hear very clearly from what you said, which is you get to choose your path. And understand that the way somebody else grows their business doesn't necessarily mean A, it will work for you, two, it's the right thing for you, and that it is the only option out there. Talk to us a little bit about how you work with introverts, because that's an area where you specifically build your business around people who don't want to be the Energizer Bunny, and that's not where they grow their energy from.
Absolutely. So I ask, whenever I'm creating or helping someone create a lead gen strategy, I ask them, does this feel okay with you? I check in with them constantly. And I also let them know that it's very important to see how they're feeling as they're doing the lead gen strategy, whatever it is we've figured out that works for them, to see if it is actually working for them on a personal level, not just on a business level. So I've had people who are networking, and when we picked out the strategy, they were networking with 6 new people every single day, and they thought that that was something they could do consistently. But as they started to put that into practice, they realized, wow, I'm burning out within a week. I don't want to talk to anybody ever again. And they needed to trail that back. So our next call, we took a break and we said, okay, I'm going to give you 2 days off to recharge. And then let's change your number from 6 down to 4 or even 3 and see how that feels. So it's a lot of gauging how you're feeling throughout your lead gen process to see if it's actually going to work with you so that you don't get burned out.
I love that you're checking within because doing it is still encouraged. I mean, you do want to go and expand your network. It will certainly help you with audience building. And I love that you talk about check your internal barometer. And I think it's important to note that it's not just does it make me break out in hives, but even if it feels uncomfortable, could I gain some level of comfort if I did less of it and built up the confidence? Because for sure, we know that when people choose to invest in a program, in a service, in a mentor, in a marketing agency, in any other business that's service orientated, the one thing they're doing is saying, I trust you. I
Mhm.
want to be in space with you. And it's important that if you don't feel some level of comfort and confidence, it will show up as somebody saying, I don't know if I have confidence in you either. So I love that you guide people through, let's find a way to slow it down, check inside, and say, can we keep going at this path? And if not, let's explore another one. I want to talk a little bit here on your perspective is what would you describe as a lead generation activity? You've said networking, but are there others that you primarily think fit well for an introvert?
I think for the people who don't want to talk to people as much, who want to stay more in the background, then cold emailing and cold DMing is, well, more cold emailing is probably a good way to go because you are sending a message out there and waiting for someone to respond and engage with you before you do the next step, whatever that next step is for you. So that is a very stop and start conversation. You can also very much determine when you have the capacity to handle that conversation. And if that's today at noon, that's okay. And if it's tomorrow at 8 a.m., that's okay too. You get to decide that a lot more easily than you would say in the DMs where you're talking to someone or if you're going out to an event and networking with people there.
I like what you're framing around email. I mean, email is brilliant for sure. If someone has gifted you their contact info, this is a highly valued one to one relationship. And we should treat it as such. I think sometimes we can get into a belief that email is one of many, and it isn't from an efficiency point of view, but the way to be successful with email is one to one. And I love that you think it's less scary to think of myself in conversation one to one when I control the start time and I can think through with my thoughts. And I potentially even can work with somebody like you as a mentor to say, help me check this delivery before
Yeah.
it's public. Because one of our big anxieties as introverts is the fear of judgment and the fear that what's being unsaid not
Mm-hmm.
nearly as much as we think, but that is certainly a driver of our behavior. And know your rhythm.
I cannot tell you, I love some of what you said there because I cannot tell you how many people, even friends who have come to me and said, I need to reply to this email. Can you, this is my reply, but can you make sure it sounds right? Can you make sure I didn't sound, mean or aggressive or too soft or anything like that? Because that delivery is really important. And it's sometimes hard for us introverts to figure out where that balance is
Mhm.
of what is enough and what is pulling back too much. So it's really good to have someone who can tell the difference for you.
It is. It is for sure one of the great things I do with my clients as well. And it's often because the conversation is you still need to lead. When we are doing lead generation, and the first part of lead generation is leading self, which is putting yourself into some level of visibility, whether that is behind an email list and a one-to-one conversation, maybe in a DM, or maybe in other spaces where you feel not in a crowd, but really feel more comfortable building relationships. And when you do that, it can really open the door to smaller steps. And smaller
Mm-hmm.
steps can really make, honestly, not just your journey as the business owner feel a whole lot stressful, more or less stressed, excuse me.
Yeah.
But it actually, on the other side, is probably the pace they want. I
Mm-hmm.
think so often we rush the speed and we rush the process. And it can lead people to, like you said, backing out and going, ooh, help, get me out of here.
Right, exactly.
And one of the great things I know you do is you talk about cold messaging. And this is something, guys, I want to invite you to certainly connect with Kelly, and we'll make sure you have her details to do that. But she spends a lot of time talking about connecting cold, where you build a warm relationship. Tell us a little bit, some tips on why you've chosen to really focus on that, given that you're working with introverts, because it's obviously a strategy that works for you to specialize in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to clarify that a little bit. So there's a difference for me between cold messaging, so cold DMs, cold emails, and networking. To me, they could there's some gray area there, but to me, they're very separate. And I teach both within my programs because I
Mhm.
know, like you said, people are approaching lead gen from different places and they need different things. But when we're talking about what I clarify as or classify as networking, that's where I am reaching out to someone um, kind of a little cold and inviting them into a conversation. So usually the way I do it and the way I suggest that my clients do it is where they are taking a look at someone's profile on social media. That's usually where this happens. So they take a look at someone's profile to make sure that it is someone who is an ideal client, whose personality fits with what they're looking to work with. And from there, they will follow them, maybe comment on a few stories or a few posts. And then if the person comments back or if the person follows them back, at that point, they're going to start a conversation with a simple question. So they're going to start with, hey, how are you? Or hey, sorry, I'm I said that wrong. They're going to start, it's so like ingrained. You just say, hey, how are you? So they're going to start the conversation with a hey name, thanks for the follow, and then they'll ask a question that is based on their niche, what they want to know about this person, so that they can get that conversation going. That's my favorite kind of lead gen because it works really well for me. And it also has worked for a lot of my clients to help them get clients one-on-one.
Well, and I love what you talk about before, you've committed to a marriage, which is, a client saying yes, and a pretty committed commitment at that, because money's changing hands, is to do your research. And one of the things that's so important, we've talked a little bit about today, the importance of finding a style that works to your strengths. It may feel uncomfortable, but if it still feels like a growth area where you can embrace developing mastery, then run with it. But it isn't just about what you want to do. It's really important that you recognize there's two people into this relationship, two people into the conversation, and it's a one-to-one relationship that you're crafting to start. Let's talk about the importance of finding a match in your service offering between your style and what your audience and how they want to be approached, served, and connected with.
Absolutely. So for a lot of people, this is going to be dependent on not just your niche, but also your ideal client avatar. So you have to make sure that you know exactly who you are reaching out to and how you're going to help them before you can reach out to them at all. Because I've used this example in my marketing before. If you are, say, a copywriter for physicians, then if you're marketing on Instagram, you're not going to get very far because physicians are not on Instagram, at least not on a business level. They're going to be over on LinkedIn. So you need to be where they are.
I think that's so important. And I think it's often what's the language? What are they coming onto that platform for? And ensuring that you connect at a human level.
Yes.
And you've certainly all heard, my audience here has heard me say it many times because I feel so strongly about this. Your ability to be successful in business is highly dependent on you showing up as human.
Yes.
Without that, nothing else comes into play. And I love that you talk about, well, physicians don't show up on Instagram. They might from an entertainment point of view, but they don't so much so for their business. If you want to approach them about a business topic, it could be weird on that platform.
Absolutely.
Don't
It's
be the
going to
weirdo.
be
That's all
weird.
going to help you get past the first conversation.
Right.
So I loved, when you're looking at your client avatar, is there certain things that you recommend your clients search for in that research before they engage in some lead generation activities, which could be a reach out in many different platform kind of styles, if you will?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to check out your values, your goals, and how you like to serve people and the different ways you can serve them. And then figure out if that matches who your ideal client is. So who you think you want to help. And then do some market research to see if those two actually connect. Because if there's a disconnect, you need to make some changes. So you really need to concentrate on making sure that everything matches up. And as far as creating your client avatar is concerned, it's a lot of asking yourself questions and making sure that their values align with your values.
Mhm.
Because if they don't, you could be working with someone who you find out down the road is not someone you like as a person, and that is honestly going to make it hard to work with them because you don't believe in what they believe in.
Yeah, I love that you talk about values because that is so important. It's one of the most important episodes we had very early on here in our podcast because values drive success. They are who you want to play with, they are how you feel in integrity with the path, with the choices you're making. And I want to reassure you, if you're thinking there's nobody who's going to get me, I will tell you there's 8 billion people on the planet. There is. And have faith that you can build relationships in a style that feels totally in alignment with your values, totally in alignment with this style and the path you want to take. Because guess what? In your audience of ideal clients, somebody is your mirror and is looking for somebody that they feel safe with, somebody that they can connect to, and to really build a strong partnership with. So I just want to remind you, for somebody who's worked with a ton of people all over the place, there is your client out there. You do not need to be the loudest person in the place to see success in the world of business. Kelly, you've had a great success in your career to date. You work with a lot of different people, helping them grow their businesses. What's working for you right now in your business to amplify it, to get new clients, and to see momentum build?
Yeah, so this is something that is slightly controversial in the world of coaching from what I have seen. Um, People a lot of times do discovery calls, just straight up discovery call. If you want to work with me, then we are going to have a 15, 30-minute call, and I'll pitch you basically half the time at least, and then we'll go from there. I scrap that because I like to provide value. Value is the first and forefront for me, and honestly, it's something I cannot stop myself from providing when I talk to people. So what I started to do instead is what's called an action plan call. And on these calls, we talk about one of their goals and create a breakdown of getting from where they are now to reaching that goal. Now it's usually small steps. It's not like I want to make $100,000 and we're going to break down that goal, because that is a big goal and that's going to take a lot of steps. We break down the smaller ones. And that has allowed me to have genuine communication with people, make genuine connections, and really see where they are in their business, and also provide so much value that even if I say we can have this call without any concerns of pitching, then they're going to go ahead, and 90% of them have decided to book with me anyway, because they get value, they get to connect, and they get to see who I am, how I help firsthand. That has been a game changer for me.
I absolutely love it. It's very in alignment with my own vision of business and how we should play nicely with people, because the world of coaching feels for many like a mirage. They don't really understand, what are you doing? What am I going to
Mhm.
get? And that's why I love that you're taking from a show and tell perspective. And I said, just, you've heard this from my perspective, you heard this from guests here, just like what Kelly had said, which is, I'm never concerned to give value, because value creates impact. Money follows impact. And doesn't mean that it's going to be immediate, but there's going to be a ripple effect, and show up as the human who wants to create big ripples. We need to be impact driven. And when we do that, the right people say, you're my person. And I've had time at a safe distance in a low risk way to experience you. And to truly see great impact, people need to experience you. They have to trust you. And so I absolutely love that you're doing. I want to say kudos for totally bucking the trend. Let's not push people into a call before they're ready. And let's let them initiate. This feels right. Tell me what it is. Let me lean into it. Where do people find you to learn more about your service offering and the work that you do?
Absolutely. They can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm hanging out all the time, at Dogstar Creative Co. And if they want to check out my website, they can look at dogstarcreativeco.com.
I want to invite you all, please go connect with Kelly. If you have introverts in your business who are seeking more client growth and just go, I just feel like everybody in the marketplace is telling me to do something that feels categorically against my values and against how I want to show up. I want you to hear it's not the only option. I want you to go connect to Kelly. And I want to help you pull the pieces together so that we together can amplify our marketing message, make far more impact together, and really bring some joy back into your business, your way, with big results. Kelly, thank you for being our guest today. Everyone, we will see you all on our next episode. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit christinecampbellrapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all on our next episode.